Every year since I've been here, we have been committed to bringing leaders together to learn. There were two purposes this year, especially after the year that we had in 2020-21. And so I think the first main purpose is that we get together in a room and we learn together. I think as a learning organization, our commitment to being learners, to serve learners is really important. One of the fundamental purposes of getting together was to learn, and to learn together in a group and kind of revisit some things that we had been working on the last 4 years. The second one was just to get in a room together. We hadn't been in a room together as a big group since last summer when we spent a couple of days together. And so part of it was just to reconnect to each other. It was a great feeling to be back together in the room with leaders. They were excited to be together and to learn again, and certainly so was I. Day one was a great feeling. So we spent day one just with leaders, all district departments. We really advocate that our whole district is one big collective team, and hence the theme this year was Team Lake, to kind of revisit that idea that we're a team. So we put everybody in the room, and I think it was important for everybody to hear that message. And I spent some time thinking about what is it that I really wanted leaders to know this year, and I think most of it was just about revisiting some things. I don't think it was time to bring up anything new. We still have a lot of work to do on some of the things that we put into place already the last 4 years. So I had a theme of it was kind of a re-theme. So we went back and revisited some things. So we started with reconnecting, we did some team building, we reconnected to our belief system, we reconnected to our why, and spent some time reflecting on that. Why do we do what we do? Why do we stay? Why do we commit to Lake County and to Lake County students? And certainly there were some great conversations around that. We then moved to recommitting, and we talked about recommitting to each other and thinking about the work that we've been doing, and we revisited our collective commitments and thinking about how might they do that with their own staff. And then we went into rebuilding, and rebuilding talked about kind of rebuilding some of those structures that maybe this last year has been a little bit harder for us and we've had to do virtually. So thinking about rebuilding collaborative teams and what might that look like. Rebuilding also the sense of collective efficacy. It was hard for teachers this year to really see their efforts, and especially if they were teaching virtually, like whether or not they were having impact. And so we talked a lot about how to give good feedback during that section, how to really be specific about their actions and how their actions impact learning. And so we spent some time in that section on that. And then we went into relaunching and thinking about, we made a commitment 4 years ago of how we wanted our kids to experience learning. So it wasn't just about them being able to learn, but how do we want the experience to look and feel in Lake County? And we developed our common vision for instruction. And part of that is dealing with making sure kids know exactly what they're supposed to learn. So thinking about the essential standards and how are we gonna make sure that kids know what they're supposed to be learning, how do teachers know what they're supposed to be learning, and looking at that in our collaborative planning time, thinking also about how we get back to kids being able to collaborate with each other, have classroom discussions, making sure that kids have a scaffold with each other, making sure teachers understand how to facilitate learning, where the heavy lift is on kids, and then thinking about how we assess that learning, how we know that kids understand and are able to do what we've asked them to learn. And so that relaunching section, it also talked about collaborative learning time. How do we talk about collaborative planning time with adults and relaunching that and maybe refining that a bit? And so we spent some time reflecting on that. So we moved into recovering and thinking about our acceleration and remediation time. Like if we do have a learning loss, which I think we've got to wait for the data, the rhetoric of the fact that everybody has a learning loss, I certainly think we'll see a bit of a slide, but I want to be on the proactive side of things and think about the idea that we may not have as big of a slide as we think. And so the data, really digging into the data, is going to drive that for us, and not letting a test in May drive what we do with kids in August and September and October. And so really using current common formative assessments that teachers have made together and really refine those assessments, and then based on those essential standards, and then making sure we have opportunities for kids to get remediation and acceleration during the school day. And so looking at that time again, making sure kids have a walk-to intervention system where they can go get the help that they need from the best person possible to be able to deliver that instruction. And so that's kind of that whole idea of recovering learning if that's needed. And then the last section was rebound, and that section really dealt with this idea that it was a hard year. And I think that it was important that we acknowledge for all of us it was a hard year and that we did really good work. And so we ended with this video that there was a poem in a book. It was actually from the book The Rebound by Doug Fisher. and Nancy Fry. And it was in the front, it was written by a student, and I read it when I opened the book. I got the book to sort of do some planning around this whole day, and the poem just kind of spoke to me. It spoke to me because I just wanted Lake County to know that we really did well in this year of uncertainty. Those structures that we put into place 4 years ago, we saw come to fruition. We saw collaboration, which has actually been here for years. But we saw people collaborate because we didn't know how to do things. We saw people get together. We saw people decide what is the most important thing we can teach our kids this year and how we do that. And people really rose to the challenge in every department. And so I asked every department director, assistant superintendent, the superintendent, all the cabinet members, the executive directors, I asked everybody to do a couple lines. We ended that first day with that poem, and I think people really appreciated that and felt like we saw them, and we know that it was a tough year, and we're all going to get through this together, and that our job is to rebound. We rebound for ourselves, we rebound for kids. So day one sort of set the stage for the next 3 days. We have a lot of people who were signed up to go to a PLC Institute last year and the year before, and it got canceled because of COVID. And so I have really had a goal of making sure that everybody has a good foundational understanding of the PLC process and what it really looks like to be a learning organization for adults and for kids, and this idea of why we really focus on student learning, but why all that happens because of the adults and professional learning. And so it was a great opportunity for us to have every administrator, every school, to have a team of teachers come together and kind of be that group of people that leads the work in their school. So we did a PLC virtual institute, meaning we were in person doing the work, but the institute actually was brought to us from California. And I have to tell you, for our first time, it went pretty well, and people were very appreciative of it. And I think they sort of understand better about what a real learning organization looks like. That was the next 3 days. So we spent time looking at essential standards, talking about those tenets of the PLC process, looking at how to strengthen our collaborative structures for adults, and looking at what we do with formative assessments, looking at what we do with acceleration remediation. And so we built a better shared understanding of the work itself. We left the week with hope and rejuvenation, and I think people are excited about the year ahead. And so that's a week in a nutshell.
Something unexpected. Something we've never encountered before. Something new to the world. It came quick and fast, with no warning.
Everything's changed. Your life has changed. It won't ever be the same.
We are now lost. What to do next? With no clues, what is the next move?
To stay home is what we were told. The world is at a standstill while time continues.
Our education must continue. The world in such a panic, but we must continue.
Scared to step outside, but we must continue.
We are the next generation, so we must continue.
Time for something new. Something we're not used to. Something so complicated, yet so simple.
We had to adapt with no other choice.
We met a new way to find knowledge, a new way to learn.
The only way left to learn, it was not easy. There were many setbacks, many failures, many distractions.
Nothing to keep us motivated but ourselves. A rough beginning coming to a peaceful end, although it's not over.
Be proud, though you may not see, though you may not understand.
This moment is a moment to be proud of, overcoming the challenge, pushing through the rain.
The light just over the horizon. We're almost there.
We had every chance to give up. No one around to tell us this and that. No one around to direct us.
Nobody around to watch. There is no coming back from this moment.
You have now adapted to a new way of learning. You have now adapted to a new way of life. You miss the old way, but this moment has forever helped your future.
See it or not, you are a part of virtual learning. It came unexpectedly, but we picked up right where we left off.
We adapt. We continue. We push through and we make it out.
We are the next generation. We have not failed. We have thrived.
We took this lesson and created a blessing. The setup for failure has become our greatest success.
Entertainers, entrepreneurs, that's what we've become in a short period of time.
With this dark moment, a small light was all we needed to find our path.
They took a shot and missed. We took the rebound and scored.